Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Welcome, Kevin Christie here, ready for another episode to really discuss mindset. I've got a great guest. He's someone I've known for a while. We lost touch, and then we've regained touch, but he is Michael Cooper, and he is the director and owner of Human Performance Mentors. He works with athletes of the highest level, business owners, corporations, leaders, CEOs. We actually originally met because of the work I was doing at the NFL Combine training program down here in Boca Raton, and he was working with the athletes as well, and we had connected and just, reestablished over a cup of coffee a few weeks ago and just had a great conversation. So I wanted to have him on to discuss mindset of leadership. And frankly, it's something I think a lot of us are struggling with, and not that long ago, I had the episode with Dr. Brock Martin, and he was kind enough to be candid about the mindset shift that has occurred for him and what it's done for his practice and team and community and family. And I think a lot of us struggle with certain conflicts that just hinder our growth. And we dive into it. And you can tell by our episode today, Michael really knows what he's talking about and has got it laid out in a format that you can really digest. And I got a lot out of it. And, it's part of why in our Chiropractic Success Academy, we have a whole mindset channel in there because we can do all the marketing things and be great clinically, but if the mindset is off, if we're just not thinking accurately or we've got these roadblocks in the way, it's going to be really hard to grow in the way that you could. And the good news is that you can transform these. You can become a great leader for your patient, your team, your family, your community. And we dive into many things like that. I'm going to make sure to ask him if he can contribute a lesson to our Chiropractic Success Academy in that mindset channel, because we just have great information here. And I'm looking forward to connecting further with Michael and diving into that even more for our businesses. And it's just interesting, it's cool to see sometimes that commonality of working with high-level athletes and also people in the business world. There's a lot of congruencies there, and you'll hear that in our conversation today with Michael Cooper. All right, welcome to the show, Michael. I really appreciate your time today. You and I have known each other for quite a while, and just kind of retouched base not too long ago and started having a good conversation. So what you were telling me over a cup of coffee was something I really wanted my audience to hear. And so before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourself personally and professionally, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Kevin. And I'm really excited to be here and that we did reconnect because, like you said, as we were having the coffee and just getting back on track and just talking about some things, we realized, what an impact that we can have in just sharing different info. And so just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. I was born into a athletic and military family. So I started playing sports right away. When in the crib, they were putting the little, Nerf balls and all this kind of stuff around me. And I was the youngest of 4 kids. I have 2 older sisters and an older brother. And I got into sports. I was 4 years old. I started BMX bike racing and playing football and baseball. And I was a multi-athlete through the first decade of my life, sponsored by Honda and Fox and in my BMX racing. And once I turned 11, turning 12, my parents divorced and I became very temperamental, very upset, depressed, angry. I didn't have me now back then. There wasn't life coaching, mentoring like that. My mom had me go talk to a psychologist, but it really wasn't working for me. And so I really struggled going through my school, and the thing that was thriving was my sports, because in football, I can knock people's heads off. That was a way for me to release anger, but I was declining in my relationships. I was declining in school. There was a lot of things that I was struggling with. And my older brother in 1986, he took me to see the movie Top Gun. And, I was like 13 years old. He was 18. or 19. And he's like elbowing me saying, Mike, I'm going to do this. I'm like, whatever, pass the popcorn. And he sure did. So he went on, he became an F-15 fighter pilot, and he's always been a source of inspiration and empowerment for me. So I had an opportunity to go play football in college, after high school. I had a few schools that wanted me to go play, but I was just drifting. I didn't have direction in my life. I didn't have guidance. I was really lost mentally and emotionally, spiritually. I had the physical and technical talents and things like that. So I ended up going into the Navy and was on the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier for a few years. And it was, at the time when I was in it, I hated it, but coming out of it, of course, obviously it was a great experience. And when I came out of that, I was 21 years old, and I immersed myself into the mental and emotional and spiritual training and developing, because I realized that, man, all these athletes and leaders and coaches and etc., they have all this physical and technical skills, but they're mental midgets. They're not spiritually connected. They don't really know how to operate, like a high performance vehicle. And so when I started to train and develop into that led me into creating the Missing Playbook, which was, my mentoring program. And it's really just helping people understand how to, again, just train and develop mentally and emotionally, so that way they could be successful in the game of life. It's led me to work with ESPN and the Rams and the Raiders and the Jets and McDonald's and Keller Williams, Northwestern Mutual, all these different things. And so that's what I've been doing over the last 30 years. And so it's really been amazing to be able to make an impact and the transformation in people.
Yeah, definitely. And, you and I first met through Tony Villani, who from XP Sports, training all the athletes. And he connected us too, because you were working with a lot of the athletes, and I was their clinical director, and we touched base on that. And then we started having conversations about, I think this was 2012, if I recall, but we started having conversations even from the business side of things, and kind of, I love the name of your company, Human Performance Mentors, and that human performance can be, like you said, obviously on the field or in the court, or in the boardroom, right, or in your small business, and obviously even in your own personal life. And so that's why you and I had connected, was to kind of talk about not only just the athletes we were co-managing, but then also some of the things I was working through with business and things of that nature. So it's cool how there's that kind of crossover with those two different types of we'll call it subgroups.
Yeah, 100%.
And so let's dive into some of the stuff that you see that limits a person. Again, whether it's the athlete or, our audience is mostly chiropractors and some marketers that are running their own business or want to at some point, and they have struggles. So what are some of the things that you notice that really are blocks for people?
Yeah, so that word struggle, I love it so much because most people don't understand that, struggle comes from a lack of awareness and operating on low or poor quality information. Mm-hmm. And that's, we're being led and have so much misinformation out there in the world today that is really blocking us from reaching our true potential and creating like these false stories within us that, we have this self-talk, this auto-suggestion. Mm-hmm. And so if we're talking to, the chiropractors are talking to, this audience and, talking with you about what you're doing in your practice and wanting to grow as a business or whatever it is. And you most likely have stories that you're sharing with yourself that you're automatically suggesting to yourself that are blocking you from really reaching your true potential. And, we all want to change, everybody wants to change, and we all want to grow. And I was just talking about this with my son this morning, actually. We were up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and just sitting here at the house talking. I was like, between change and growth is conflict. Mm-hmm. To have a successful relationship, whether it's, a love relationship, a business relationship, a friendship, whatever the ship is, right? Whatever the relation is. Mm-hmm. To be successful, you have to have conflict, but you have to know how to lead yourself through the conflict, through your conflicting beliefs, through your conflicts, your conflicts that are going within you and your own mind in a very positive prosperous way, which a lot of people don't know how to do. It's really easy to go into negative town, into Unpleasantville with your thinking, off-roading, instead of staying focused on what's my purpose? What do I really want? Why do I want that? Do I have a very crystal clear, real and focused vision of what this is that we want? And so it's understanding that. And one of the best questions, one of the most important questions that you can ask yourself is, what am I willing to struggle for?
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't realize that it's so. A lot of times we talk about, well, how do I overcome this fear? Because everybody has fear, fear of failing, right?
Yeah.
And I said, the way to overcome this fear of failing is to have a goal that's worth failing for. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to struggle for that. I'm going to go through whatever it is that I have to go through, investing in learning, spending time, improving my craft, becoming the true pro that I am, whether I have a small practice or a large practice. It's like I told the sports team, whether there's one person in the audience or a million, a pro is a pro. The performance is the same. What you do is the same. You have to get clear, real, and focused on what it is that you're going to do, and just know that I'm going to go through whatever it is I have to go through to get to that end result. Mm-hmm. And I'm not focusing on what I'm going through. I'm focusing on what I'm going to. I know there's going to be challenges and obstacles and struggles and all these things, but I'm going to embrace that, because I know through the challenge, through the struggles, where my great rewards are. So
I want to chime in a little bit and bring a little context to the audience as well, because this is great. The conflicts, in our profession, there's there's an evidence-based crowd of chiropractors, which is most of our audience. And then there's kind of the other side of the profession. And a lot of the evidence-based chiropractors, they have these conflicts within the own profession, like whether it's, it could be financial conflicts they have that they can't get over. Like, they can't imagine charging someone for something, or they're afraid to set a legitimate treatment plan for someone because of what some chiropractors have done with extensive, over the top treatment plans, all these different types of conflicts. And they end up not having any conviction in what they're doing. And they don't provide any leadership to the patient. And then sometimes they even get lost in this kind of no man's land of, they don't even know if they're in the right profession anymore. And they're questioning all these things. And then it eats at their ability to kind of be a pro, like you talked about. Like, they never get to that point where they are a pro, and they don't overcome those conflicts. And it's fascinating to hear you kind of outline that and how it relates to our profession.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't stand for something, then it's very easy to fall for anything. And so it's about, like you just said, like standing in that conviction, and it's getting to a place. So let me share with you let me step back a little bit. So when I go in and I work with an organization, and I'm talking with the leader, right?
Yep.
I'll ask them, the owner, the founder, whoever it is, I'll ask them, are you familiar with the Mastermind Alliance principle? And I already know going in that 98% of them do not know what a Mastermind Alliance is. And I didn't know what it was until it was taught to me. This is not being taught in school, unfortunately. But a Mastermind Alliance, they always say, no, sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, it's like brainstorming, right? And I'm like, not quite. I said, a Mastermind Alliance is when you have two or more minds that are working in a cooperative, harmonious effort towards the same end result. That they're in a spirit of harmony, these two minds. So like two minds in harmony creates like a third mind. So like my mind and your mind. So we met for coffee, for instance, and we started talking. We were just chatting, right? Hanging. And our minds were in alliance with each other. We were in harmony with each other. So our two minds working together were more powerful than they were apart, right? It creates this master mind. And so this is missing in organizations, going back to like what you're just talking about, because there's 6 qualifications that an active member of your Mastermind Alliance must-have. And for those of you listening, write this down. So number one, you have to be dependable, right? You have to be dependable.
Yep.
Number two, you have to be loyal. Number three, you have to have ability. Number four, you have to have a positive mental attitude. Number five, you have to be willing to go the extra mile. And number six, you have to apply faith. And I'm going to go over each one real quick. So the first one, again, these are qualifications, okay, qualities that an active member of your Mastermind Alliance must have. They must be a yes in all six of these things. So for those of you listening, think about the people in your life, right? Spouses, friends, the people you're working with, clients, all relationships. So number one, as I said, they have to be dependable. So I'll ask the organizations, like in their leadership teams, you know, I'm like, is this person dependable? Yes, no, or I don't know. Now, obviously, if somebody's coming into the organization at first, they could be an I don't know. And that's okay if it's an I don't know. We just need to get to know that it's a yes. If it comes up that it's a no ever, like no, they're not dependable, they're not an active member of your Mastermind Alliance. So you need to be able to depend on these people, right? Number two, the loyal. You have to know that these people are loyal to you, loyal to the team, loyal to the practice, loyal to the people. You know, they're applying themselves and being loyal to the process, right? These are loyal people, right? They're dedicated. The third thing is ability. Yeah, this person has the ability to do the things that they say they're going to do. They have the ability to be this dream client that I want to have. You know, they have the ability to help me create this dream practice. You know, this company, this organization to do the things. They do have the ability. The third thing is, or the fourth thing is the positive mental attitude. Very important that the people that you're connected with, that you're doing things with, have a positive mental attitude, you know, PMA. So think of it this way. When we're born, we come into this life with two envelopes, let's just say, right? One is marked rewards. The other one is marked penalties. So when we're operating with a positive mental attitude, PMA, we're operating out of the envelope of rewards. We're going to be rewarded through life. I'm going to be rewarded personally. People around me are going to be rewarded. But if I'm operating with a negative mental attitude, NMA, say that fast, NMA, the enemy, well, you're going to be operating out of the envelope of penalty. I'm going to be penalized, and the people around me are going to be penalized. So it's very important for me to have a positive mental attitude, and the people that are in my alliance to have a positive mental attitude. The fourth thing is the ability to go, the willingness to go the extra mile. Like, I'll go the extra mile for this. I'll do the extra work. I'll put in the extra time. I'll do the extra study. I'll listen to the videos and the audios and read the worksheets and continue to train and develop to improve who I be, so I can, share this with others, et cetera, and help them grow. And then the sixth thing is applied faith. Applied obviously means to take action. Am I taking action faithfully? So I'm going to ask you a question, and don't worry, you'll pass the question. Do you believe that you can put on your shoes and tie them, or do you know you can?
I know I can.
Right. So that's faith. Faith is a knowing. It's beyond the believing. Like, if you're trying to believe, I can do this, I can be a chiropractor, right? I can set the right rates, I can, have the right clients, I can make the right money, I can do the right things, I can produce the right results. Like, I believe I can do this. Like, if you're stuck in that believing, that causes fears and doubts and worries. You have to get to that place where I just know. I know what I'm creating. I know the fees that I'm setting because I know my worth.
Yep.
My fees are based on my value, not on your budget. I know my worth. I know my value. I'm strong in my standards. And that's the things like what you were talking about is when I used to have a challenge with this too in my space, becoming a mentor, a life coach 14 years ago when I was getting into it. How the heck do I charge for this? And these other guys are charging that, and I'll never be able to try. Holy cow. And like, whoa. And, so it's getting to a place where you start to learn how to create the right clients, create the right practice, understanding your value.
Mhm.
Like if you have value, if you have something to impart onto these people, if you add value to their lives, then yeah, you got to obviously you get paid for it.
Mhm.
And if you want a certain type of client where, if you charge like 100 a session, or I charge 500 a session, or I charge 1,000 a session, or I have these packages or these programs, $25,000 or $200,000 for the year for me to work, whatever it is, you can have it, you can create it. But when you're not connected with the right minds, this Mastermind Alliance, because I'll ask people about their alliance with their team. Oh, this person, yeah, they're dependable and loyal, and they have the ability, but their attitude sucks. Very
Mhm.
negative a lot of the time. I'm like, well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be able to connect with people and talk with them, to be supported, to be encouraged. Like, hey man, I'm struggling. Like I want to change. I want to grow. Like I want to collect this type of fee and have this type of client. And you want to have people that are in your life that say, I know you can and will do that, and I'm here to help you any way that I can. And let me show you how this is done.
All right, Docs, here is a new opportunity for you from Darcy Sullivan of Propel. She is our SEO specialist in helping out many chiropractors with their search engine optimization and making sure Google is finding you and getting you new patients. It's amazing how many new patients chiropractors can get and are getting when they do the SEO right and a few other things. And Darcy is offering a free SEO workshop just for chiropractors, and you can sign up for that at bit.ly/propelmcm. That is bit.ly propelmcm, modern chiropractic marketing, right? And so check out that link, and we're going to have you go over 5 SEO secrets to owning the first page of Google without buying ads. And Darcy's going to give that free workshop, 1 hour, to really help grow your practice and start churning new patients from the ever mighty Google, which is still king in the online marketing. So check that out at bit.ly/propelmcm for the 1 hour free workshop. Yeah, I want to
Yeah,
touch on
correct.
this a little bit because this is amazing. Because what we find in our practices and the chiropractors I talk to is I'll get them complaining about a couple things. One is, my patient base really is a drag on me. Like they'll complain about the types of patients they have because of maybe the types of people they are, or their price shopping, or whatever, right? They'll complain about their patient base. That's a common one too. A lot of times they'll complain about their staff and their team, right? And they'll make those
Yeah.
complaints, and they're always pointing outward at it. And what it seems like is the case, and I haven't been able to ever really put it into this concise of a manner, but what's probably happening, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that that particular chiropractor is not doing well in some or all of those 6. So then it trickles down to their team is obviously not going to
100%.
is not going to be able to perform in those 6. And then if the doctor and the team are not, then how can you expect yourself to mold or attract this patient base that is at least 80% great, right? Like you're never going to have
Yeah.
100% great patients, but when
Yeah.
it's you've hit that threshold where, okay, I got too many shitheads in this office. And, and we all know when that happens, but I think
Yeah.
that's putting it together for me. And then maybe even another step further, and I'll let you take over, is that a lot of times that doctor is left on an island and they don't have someone kind of in that Mastermind Alliance that's guiding them to be able to work on themselves, to then be able to obviously optimize these 6 aspects, and then from there be able to put the right team around them, and then from there be able to mold and create the patient base they want, and then be able to have some conviction on what they are doing and providing and guiding these patients, and then the money will just flow from there. I mean, that's just a byproduct. Did I
Yeah.
did I put that together decently well, or what are
That
your
was
thoughts on that?
awesome. Yeah, no, that was perfect. So let me explain all those things that you just talked about. So I always love to talk about, and you can all imagine this, or obviously if you're taking notes, write this down. Is I call it the leadership train. right? So everybody knows what a train is, right? You can think about a train. And so there's this leadership train, and there's a front car, and you have all these other cars that are connected to it. So I'm just going to ask you a quick question. Is
Mm-hmm.
that front car pulling the other cars around the track or pushing the other cars around the track?
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense.
What is the answer?
You wanted to be pulling, right?
Exactly. The lead car pulls those other cars. It's not a matter of you want to be. Now, in a personal sense, in a human being sense, yes, I want to be pulling, but in a real train sense, it doesn't push the cars around the track, it pulls.
Yep.
Okay. So that front car is pulling these other cars around the track. Those other cars are just going along with wherever that lead car is going.
Mm-hmm.
And so you as a leader, so human performance mentors, there's a human performance mentor in every single one of us. There's a mentor in every one of us. A mentor, of course, is a guide, right? A leader.
Mm-hmm.
So when I, uncovered and discovered, founded human performance mentors, I was sitting at a sports bar watching a football game, pulled out the napkin 14 years ago, whatever it was, and I was like, who am I? Like, what do I do? And I'm like, you're a guide, you're a leader. What is that? I mean, I'm a mentor, right? Okay, so who am I guiding? What am I guiding? You're guiding humans. I wrote that down. What are you guiding these humans to do? Perform. Whoa, human performance mentors. Wow. And so whether you are a guide that is leading others negatively because you have a negative mental attitude and you're missing these qualifications of an active member of a Mastermind Alliance, or you are a positive guide, you're one of those, right? And so when you're not, so here you are in this leadership train, and you have to look at it also as, so that train is a high performance vehicle. But if I want to paint a bigger picture, so if you think about a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are high performance vehicles. And would you say they require high maintenance?
Yes.
Would you say that they require strict self-discipline to operate?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, we don't understand, if you've never been in one of those cars, okay, and you don't understand the sensitivity of the pedals, how quickly it accelerates or decelerates. I mean, you can, how it handles you. You can spin out, you can crack up the car, hurt yourself. I mean, there is a lot that can go wrong. And so the highest performing vehicle of all is us, the human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
This mind, the body, the soul. And would you say that this high performance vehicle of we as a being requires high maintenance?
At least I know I do.
Exactly. Requires strict self-discipline to operate, because we can spin out, crack up, hurt ourselves. There's a lot that can go wrong. And so when I'm working with leaders or high performance people, whether elite athletes or elite leaders of organization, whatever it is, right? In this case, you chiropractors, you're high performance people. You're working with elite people and doing amazing things with the highest performing vehicle of all, right? The human body. It's amazing. And so there's 5 things you have to look at. Number 1 is your vision. You have to be very clear, very real, very focused on your vision as a leader, because leaders can feel isolated. You can feel alone on an island if you're trying to do this all alone by yourself. And this is why I have mentors in my life. I'm sure you have mentors in your life. We need mentors. We need guides. We're not going to get to the top by ourselves. It doesn't happen. If you're going to climb, if you're going to ascend, you're going to do that with taking all other people along with you.
Hey, Doc, are you moving office spaces, or you're a startup with your own new space, or you're like me where you need renovations because it's starting to look a little worn after about 10 years like ours is? Crossfield's Chiropractic Office Design is here to elevate you wherever you're at, and they're going to help maximize your space and flow. They're going to really help attract and retain patients, and this is going to have a great ROI on your investment when you increase that patient experience. So check out Chiropractic Office Designs by Crossfields, and we have a special link for Modern Chiropractic Marketing listeners, and that is www.chiropracticofficedesign.com/Kevin-Christie. And with that, you're going to have discounts. We're going to have direct links to a mega bundle of free resources, and you can check them out, and you can get 15 of our most popular floor plans, 5-phase checklist for a startup office, 5-point designer checklist to evaluate your current office image. And there's 30% off on all online products when you go to www.chiropracticofficedesign.com/Kevin-Christie.
So I must get clear on what my vision is. I want to create, because I came here into this life to create, right? To create the universe that I want to experience. I want to create the right clients. I want to create the right practice, the right staff, right? The right patients. Like I want to create an experience that I have peace and happiness and fulfillment in, mostly, and maybe some of the time experience some chaos and some suffering and some pain, right? That's where the change and the growth in between is the conflict, some chaos and some suffering and some pain. But I don't want it to be where I majority feeling just chaos and suffering and pain. And oh my God, like I have like clients from hell. Like I don't even like dealing with these people. And my staff, I'm annoyed and I have to change and I'm having turnover and all these other things, right?
Yep.
So we got to get clear on the vision. The second thing is strategy. You're all using strategies right now that, yes, could be serving you, but then there's other strategies that are not serving you. And then there's other strategies you're not even aware of yet. So we got to make sure that we're putting the right strategies in place to bring this vision to life, really deciding what's the right and necessary thing to do. Those are two questions you should always ask yourself. Is this right? This conversation? Should I be having this conversation? Should I be getting on this podcast? Should I be going into this meeting? Should I be working with this client? Like, is this the right and necessary thing to do? If the answer is yes, then you put your heart and soul into it, and that's where the blessings will come. If it's not right, if it's not necessary, and you do it anyway, that comes with burden. And you might not experience the burden right away, but you will experience the burden. It will come. So the third thing that you have to develop is the right mindset. Okay, we're talking about this high performance vehicle, right?
Yep.
Got to have the vision, the strategy. Third thing is mindset. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness is everything. Sometimes people will say that, oh, you got to have positive thinking. And then somebody else might say, well, I don't believe in the positive thinking. I believe in intelligence. But it's, it's a combination of these things. But really, the ultimate thing that it really is about is consciousness. Mm-hmm. What am I consciously aware of? And so it's about becoming conscious that I have negative talk. Like I have negative self-talk, and I tell myself like, oh my God, like I can't do this, or I'm not gonna be able to make that, or whatever this story is that you're telling yourself, that's a lie. So we have to get our minds set on exactly what we want and why we want it and get clear on that vision. That takes the fourth thing, which is skill set. Mm-hmm. It takes skill to connect with the right people, to know who's a Mastermind Alliance, to know that I can talk to Kevin, and I know if I'm going to share an idea with him about what's going on in my practice, like if I'm struggling or I'm going through some stuff, I know that I can contact him, I can talk to him, and together we're going to uncover ideas. We're going to strategize. He's got mindset, I have mindset, and together we're so powerful when we're together. And I love being able to communicate and collaborate with him because there's just so much power and so much goodness that we bring together. And the fifth thing, which you can probably feel it in how I'm talking right now, is energy. Mm-hmm. You have to have, everything is energy. And so if you have this patient base that are neg bombs, that are clients from hell, then that's going to drain your energy. And if you have a staff that's not an active member of your Mastermind Alliance, then that's going to drain your energy. And then if the doctor's alone on an island and doesn't have a mentor, a guide that he can or she can look to for that support, that encouragement, that inspiration, that empowerment, it could be a really dark road. So here you are back to this leadership train. I am clear on where I want to go. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm creating. And now this person says, ooh, I want to connect with you. And they get on your train, right? They're a connecting car. And you're pulling, whether you're facing forward and like you're pulling them forward, or you're turning, facing them and pulling, but you're backpedaling like you're doing like a tug of war, or you're turning to the side, you're pulling. And you're teaching, you're sharing, you're helping them grow. But along the way, if they're criticizing, condemning, and complaining, well, then you got to give them cookies and cream. All right, Tom, listen, sit down, take a seat on the train. Here's some cookie, here's some ice cream. And they're like, they're all upset and angry, whatever it is they are, they're drifting. You give them some cookies and cream, but you keep pulling. You have to keep pulling. And then eventually Tom will get up and he feels better after he had his cookies and cream, maybe took a nap. He's okay, I'm back at it again. Like, I'm going to train you. I'm going to develop you. I'm going to keep pulling you, lead you to succeed. But if I have to keep giving you cookies and cream all the time, in 2 weeks, we're pulling into a station. You got to get off.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to fire me? No, I'm not firing you. Who's firing you?
He's firing
You're
himself.
firing you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get all upset. So leaders, mentors, guides have to understand how to not only do their practice of, being the chiropractor and working with your patients, working with your clients to align them and get them balanced, to be able to perform at a high level. But I also have to mentor, guide them in other ways too, and mentor and guide my people, my staff. And so that's why you have a lot of these guys who are drifting. 98 of every 100 people are drifters because they don't have definiteness of purpose backed by a definite plan to produce definite results. They're just drifting.
Yeah, and they get lost, and we see that a lot, and it's just, it becomes a big struggle. But this definitely lays out a great kind of, I mean, it's a strategy in a sense as well, the whole thing, and working towards those
Yeah.
things. And it's just funny because as I'm listening to this and writing it down, I'm now in my 17th year of practice, and I think about some of the things where I just was really bad at in the past and struggled with, but then kept at it and improved some of it. And some of the other ones I'm still working through. One of the things that stands out to me is the energy part of it. I talk to a lot of chiropractors, and they're doing a lot of stuff they shouldn't be doing in their practice, and it drains them because they're just tasks that aren't moving the needle, and they need to be having someone else do it. And they're not functioning in their unique abilities, so it's draining their energy, and they're losing some of that fascination and motivation with it. And that's something I've gotten better with. Like, energy was a problem, and now it's not. So that was something that definitely was helpful for me to work on, and I know I mean, we could probably go for like 5 hours on working through this, and I know that's what you do.
Yeah.
And in a minute, I'm going to have you let the audience know how they can find you and stuff like that. But
Sure.
any other words of wisdom or anything I didn't ask, or that you think could really benefit the chiropractor out there that's now listened to what you've said? You've laid out the 6 aspects of the Mastermind Alliance, which I really like that concept. And then the 5 aspects of leadership, and really improving on that. What else could we work on as chiropractors, or just even in our own lives?
I think the biggest thing, so like for me, when people ask what I do, I just, I help, extraordinary people achieve impossible goals. Take these elite athletes or leaders, practitioners, and helping them become extraordinary mentors. And that's really what it's about. Being these mentors, these leaders, these guides. There's different styles of leadership. You have this authoritarian style, this laissez-faire type styles, and these aren't good styles. They're unhealthy styles. I mean, they come with lots of drawbacks. And what we want to do is shift into becoming a transformational leader, where you're able to motivate and inspire followers into direct positive changes in the group. These are leaders who are emotionally intelligent, they're energetic, and they're passionate. You can feel their love. But then it's going beyond that, where you're a spiritual leader, you're a being of service, you have a desire to share with others. How do I lead myself, push myself to move to serve? How do I serve more people? And it's the biggest thing I can say is, and what I learned almost 30 years ago, and it's something that I continue to do for myself, because it's the greatest thing that you can do for yourself, is invest in learning. And the big problem with that is ego makes them not open to learning. And I heard something from a mentor that was very powerful. was telling this story, and he said the worst part of someone being blinded by their ego, especially if they're a leader, is that they'll never learn.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with Dr. Kevin Christie. Find more online at www.modernchiropracticmarketing.com for more free resources, online courses, and the Chiropractic Success Academy. Now back to the show with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie.
So invest in your learning, invest in becoming the totality of the positive energy and oneness that you can be to connecting with others, to awaken the light in them. But you first need to awaken the light. You first need to turn the light switches on in your house, and that's a big thing. That's my thing, is helping people just create transformative experiences, not just informative.
Yeah.
Because anybody can get info, but to transform is different.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that. I get a lot of feedback on this podcast that it a lot of times will create awareness around something. We're not going to ever solve everything on podcast episodes, but if we can shine a light on it, like you said, and bring awareness to some of this, it'll at least get that person listening to take some steps, and that's what I'm hoping that today does, or whenever they're listening to this episode. And then you brought up investing in themselves. I invest in myself a lot. I currently spend about $35,000 a year on some form of coaching and mentoring and things like that. It sounds like a lot. And yeah, but it's the return on investment has been there. I wouldn't be where I'm at now without that. And I think one of the biggest mindset shifts because you mentioned having the right mindset, one of the biggest mindset shifts that I hope, especially the evidence-based chiropractic crowd has, is investing in themselves more in these aspects, because the return over the years will be immense. It's like if you told them, if you put in $5,000 and you get a 20% return in the stock market, they would be doing jumping jacks, right? You can get even more than that percentage of return when you invest in yourself properly.
Yeah, I just want to hit on like 3 points on what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And so one is, if I don't have enough of the energy called money in my life, because it's just an energy. If I don't have enough of the energy called money in my life, why not? That's one question. Another question is, are you looking for an informative experience or a transformative experience? And what you just said is very powerful. Okay. And that's why I wanted to tag on to that is information is for everyone, whether you pay for it or not, as long as it remains just information. It's like right now, this is information we're sharing. And as long as you just want to keep it information, as long as those of you listening just want to keep it as information, okay, then that's all that remains. It's just information. But if you want to internalize this information as knowledge, to make it an integral part of our life, it cannot be had for free. And removing the chaos, the suffering, and the pain from our daily life can only be done with an effort, a personal contribution. So when you say you invest 35 grand a year, you're putting in an effort, you're making a personal contribution in yourself. You're investing in learning. And yes, the reward, the return on that is far greater than the price. You're always going to pay a price. There's always a price to pay. And let me just share a quick story.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
Powerful sage teacher, his daughter was getting married. And when the wedding was over, he said to the people, what's the wedding going to cost? They said, oh, no. Like, you're powerful, you're a teacher, and your money's no good here. You're it's all good. He goes, no. I'm going to pay. What is this going to cost me? And they go back and forth for a while till eventually the sage's teacher is like, listen, in life, there is always a price to pay. And the money payment is the cheapest of any price.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to pay for this. And that's so profound when you think about it.
Yep.
Because most people will not invest in themselves. They'll go spend money on cars and houses and planes and jewelry and like designer stuff, but not on designing their heart, not designing their soul.
Yeah.
So it comes to, if your interest is short term, you're going to end up with little to show for your efforts. You'll never make it to achieving your most desired goals. But if your investment is long term, you'll be amazed by how much power and light you'll discover in yourself. And that's what's helping people to understand, is make the investment in yourself. I've spent $25,000 to spend a day and a half with a mentor. People thought, like, what? I'm like, I'm worth it. I'm worth it. You know, so that's a big key.
And, you know, and it circles back to the conflicts you talked about. A lot of chiropractors, they spend $200,000 on student loans to go to chiropractic school, and they haven't reconciled with the fact that, they didn't get everything they wanted out of that schooling. They learned how to become a chiropractor, but maybe they're struggling with communication or confidence or business understanding or marketing understanding or all these different things. And so they say to themselves, like, well, I already spent 200,000. Like, why should I spend more on that? And that's one of those conflicts they need to definitely overcome. And then a lot of times I hear them blame the profession, because there's definitely some raw deals that we get as chiropractors. There's no doubt, but I know I have a fortunate situation of knowing and talking to many chiropractors throughout the country. And I know a lot of them that are doing very well in all different states, because states insurances pay differently and stuff. So it's kind of hodgepodge, but I know successful chiropractors in every state. One's doing it the right way as well. So if you're on that struggle bus or train, right, it doesn't have to be that way. And you got to stop pointing the fingers and start looking within, and then make that commitment to improving yourself transformation wise. And I know I did it, and it's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so with
the
that
question that I wanted to,
go for it.
I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
The question I just wanted to add to that, like what I said earlier, is you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to struggle for?
Yep.
And so, like you just said something like, it doesn't have to be like that. It does have to be like that as far as struggle, but it doesn't have to be like that as far as how you're struggling.
Yep.
Like you can learn this, like, how you learn. That's why you invest in yourself with mentoring and coaching and guidance. So that way you can learn how to operate these turbulent storms of this practice, this industry, my life, etc. Because there is a way for you to succeed. You just have to learn how. That's really the key.
That is awesome. I really appreciate this conversation. For our audience, how can they find you? How can they check out your playbook and all the different things you have going on? And I'll put all this in the show notes.
Yeah, I mean, you can visit humanperformancementors.com, if you want to learn about me there. And that will also lead you to pretty much everything. It'll lead you to the Missing Playbook online platform. That's an online platform with videos and audio, downloadable worksheets, all kinds of stuff for you to do self-development. That's self-service. You want to dive into something on your own, you certainly can. Again, from free to obviously investing, dollars, because it depends. Like I said, if you want information for free, there is information for free. But just remember, it's just information. You want to make those deeper transformations? Well, then, yes, you need to start investing in yourself. And on there is also a link at humanperformancementors.com. At the bottom, it says connect with me, where you can schedule a 20-minute call. That's not a call for us to just chit chat. That's a serious call. Like if you're really serious about doing this deeper inner work, you really want to change your life, because you can change it, then I welcome those conversations. Let's talk and see if we can work and change together.
That sounds good. I truly appreciate this conversation.
I do as well. I really appreciate being on here, and thank you so much for having me.
Before you go, this is Kevin again. I want to invite you to our new website, modernchiropracticmarketing.com. It's the same URL as before, but we completely revamped it. We've got a really well-developed blog on there now where we've got guest contributors and myself putting blogs on there at least a couple times a month and good information. We've got the podcast on there with the links to download it, but also each show now has very well developed show notes, links, and the transcript in it, so you can get all that information there. If there's anything you heard on the episode, it's all found right into there. So we've got a nice podcast section for it. And then also you'll see on the homepage, we've got some other ways you can get the content from us. Obviously, there's a podcast. I really encourage you to subscribe. There's also, you can request to join the free Facebook group that is also called the Modern Chiropractic Marketing group, and that is free and request to join. You do have to be a chiropractor. There's a couple questions you'll answer, but a lot of good information there, so we'd love to have you inside there. Next, we have the Chiropractic Success Academy, which you can enroll in. For many parts of the year, you have to join a wait list, and then we open it up. The next time it's being open is in October of 2019, and so if you're hearing this now, just join the wait list. We'd love to have you inside there. And then lastly, there is some one-on-one coaching, which we're calling the MCM Mastery, and that's because I am helping you master the principles of of what we discuss in all the podcasts, the Facebook group, and giving you a clear path to implementing this in your practice and ultimately optimizing it and automating it, making your practice predictable as far as cash flow. And so there'll also be a lot of business coaching and accountability. Presently, that is filled. I have a limited amount of people I can help out, and I want to make sure that when I am helping out chiropractors one-on-one, I can give them my full attention. So I had to cap it at a certain number, but feel free to fill out the form request. Spots do open up, and so you can ask me, and I'd love to have you if there is a spot there, so check that out. And I hope you find this website, and especially the content aspect of it that we develop, very useful for you. My goal always is to provide you with as much free information as possible, and then we could take it from there. If you need the dots to be connected a little bit more, that's why we have the Chiropractic Success Academy and the MCM Mastery. Talk to you next episode.